All aboard the Energy Bus. The Energy Bus is a fun read by Jon Gordon, which takes the reader on a positivity-packed ride. This book is told in such a way that really makes the principles palatable. I found that they long lingered in my mind after I closed the book. By following the transformation of George, a disgruntled man whose life is seemingly falling apart, the Energy Bus explains 10 rules for a life of positivity and success. Now, I know a lot of the books that I've covered have rules and lists, and it can be kind of overwhelming. By no means should we try to memorize all these rules, but instead we should focus on the rules or the ideas that really stood out to us. Because ultimately, it's not about a memorized rule or another checkbox, but it is about how we apply things to our lives and what we're learning. So with that in mind, I'm going to talk about 5 topics, some of them are rules, but 5 topics that I really found helpful and valuable from this book. So the idea that I came back to the most from this book is the first rule, actually, which says, I am the driver of my own bus. This idea was so cool to me. I am the only one who's driving my bus. I'm in control of where I go and who gets on board. I'm the only one behind the steering wheel and the only one pressing the gas. I've talked about this idea before, but it's really this principle that I am in control of my own life, which I find quite empowering. You know, we have the power to decide. We get to decide where our bus is going. And this was just really helpful for me to know. And now I go throughout my day and I think, hey, you know what? I'm the driver on my own bus, because sometimes we have people and pressures to act in a certain way, but ultimately our life and how we respond to things, those are our decisions. So that was a great reminder for me. Another lesson that I learned was from a short story which this book had. And in this short story, it says that there are 2 dogs living inside of you. One, which is kind and loving and positive, and another, which is negative and mean. And you might wonder which dog will win. Well, according to this tale, the dog that wins is the dog you feed the most. It is so important that we are feeding our minds with positivity, because when we ponder on negative thoughts, that negativity only grows, So this book says the whole premise of this book is that you have a positive mindset and a positive energy. And it's not some frou-frou magical positivity, but instead it is a deep zeal for life, a passion, a joy. Because like I said, focusing on that positive energy allows positivity to grow, but focusing on negative energy allows the negative energy to grow. And so this book says, you can't share positive energy if you don't have it. And if that's not the truth, we have to cultivate positivity and focus on the positive things and feed the positive dog, not the negative dog. And that way we can share positivity with others. The one great golf shot was also another valuable lesson I learned. So there's this theory that the reason golf is so addicting is because when people finish golfing, they don't think about all the bad shots they had. No, they focus on the one great shot that they had. And focusing on that feeling helps them to want to play again. It's like it's addiction. I've been going to the driving range so I can sort of understand the feeling. But the point is, we should apply this theory to our lives. So when you lay down at night, don't think about all the bad things that happened. How the waiter told you to enjoy your food and you said you too. Or how your dog chewed on your new shoes. Instead, think about all of the great things that happened. That one great interaction you had, that one thing you succeeded at, even if it's the smallest thing. By focusing on the positive things that have happened, the things that we've achieved, it helps us to look forward to more success tomorrow. Another rule this book covers is don't waste your energy on those who don't get on your bus. Now, this rule is a bit hard for my people pleasers out there, and it's definitely something I have been guilty of. I used to be so upset when people didn't want to get on my bus. But this book reminded me that I can only drive my bus, I can't make people get on my bus, and I shouldn't take it personally when they don't. There are just some people who are not going to get on your bus, and most likely there's a reason for that. You have no room on your bus for negative people. So we've all heard that quote, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Now I'd like you to consider, do the people you surround yourselves with give you energy or do they drain you of it? This book refers to energy drainers as energy vampires. Now I'd like you to think, are you an energy giver or an energy vampire? We should be cultivating a life of positivity that empowers people, not negativity that discourages people. And also, as harsh as it sounds, it is so important to not let negative people on your bus. And it's something that you kind of have to come to terms with. But once you do, it's really empowering. The last thing I'd like to touch on is the idea of visualization. A lot of the books I've recently read have talked about visualization, so I thought it would be important to touch on it. So visualization is used by the world's greatest athletes. They envision a scenario and then they envision themselves being successful. So they envision themselves getting the strikeout or making the touchdown. And by doing this, it helps them to become more successful. So we should apply this theory to our lives and focus on visualize ourselves being successful before we even are. The Energy Bus is a quick read that can be done in a sitting or two, and it's definitely one that I recommend to everyone. A shout out to Scott Carr for recommending it to me and Madison Carr for giving it to me. As always, if you've read this book, please comment on how it's helped you and how it's helped you to be more positive, and please follow the hashtag #TheSpinalTap so you don't miss out on another review. Until next time, happy reading.